Samsung is doubling down on mid-range phones with some surprisingly premium level features in this year's Galaxy A series. I'm Alex with Android Central, and this is our first look at the Galaxy A3 and A5 2017 edition. Samsung's high-end phones, like the Galaxy S7, are great, but also expensive, and the Galaxy A series has traditionally been about creating a leaner product at a more affordable price. Samsung has just launched the 2017 refresh of the Galaxy A3 and A5 in the UK, where they'll sell for $299 and $399 respectively. At that price, you're going up against some pretty tough competition for the likes of Moto and OnePlus, so let's take a look at what the A5 and A3 have going for them. The physical design is very similar and very Samsung-esque, glass front and back, and the back panel actually has a nice subtle GS7-like curve to it. They're both metal framed, and feel every bit as solid as Samsung's flagship tier stuff. You've got 4 colours with their own flowery marketing names as usual, but let's just call them black, gold, blue and pink. The blue's actually really nice in person, not as overbearing as you might think. Both phones are water resistant too, with the same IP68 rating as the GS7, another huge deal for this price bracket. These are two different phones of course, so let's start with big differences. The A5 is a 5.2 incher at 1080p, the A3 steps down to 720 at 4.7 inches. Both screens look great, every bit as bright and punchy as we've come to expect from Super AMOLED, even at 720 on the smaller model. Other specs including the CPU, RAM, storage, battery and camera take a small hit in the A3, which you'd absolutely expect for the £100 price difference. Then again, these aren't necessarily phones for spec fiends. Still, the mid-range octa-core Exynos chips in these things pack plenty of power, and both phones gave me a smooth, stutter-free experience in the hour or so of playtime that I had. The software is based on Android 6.0.1 Marshmallow, which is disappointing to put it mildly. Let's remember that Nougat has been around for almost 6 months at this point, but Samsung's tried to make up for it with the latest iteration of its own UI. So it has the design language and all the visual flourishes of the GS7's Nougat update. That's the so-called Grace UI that we first saw in the ill-fated Note 7. Some of the fancier bells and whistles like Gear VR support are missing, but the core experience is solid, fast and attractive. Both the A5 and A3 feature Samsung's impressive always-on display, with its full loadout of customization features, and on the larger of the two you also get full-screen multi-window support. But this is Samsung multi-window, not native Android multi-window, so your app selection is a bit more limited compared to phones running Nougat. Samsung's also really proud of the new phone's cameras, and with good reason. On the A5 you get a rear shooter which, on paper, is basically the Galaxy S6's camera. 16 megapixels, optical stabilisation and an f1.9 lens, a proven combination. On the A3 you'll settle for a slightly lower 13 megapixels. But in my short time with it, I've been impressed, particularly with the A5's shooter. It's every bit as fast, sharp and detailed as I remember the GS6 being, at least in this fairly challenging indoor lighting. Around the front, the A5 also boasts a 16 megapixel front camera with the same f1.9 lens for more detailed selfies. On the A3 you'll step back to 8 megapixels. So it's easy to look down the spec sheet of the A5 and compare it unfavourably to say the OnePlus 3T, but Samsung's going after a different kind of phone buyer here. The priorities are design, water resistance and camera above raw hardware muscle, and for the money I think you could do an awful lot worse than the new Galaxy A5 and A3. The biggest disappointment has to be the fact that you're stuck back on Marshmallow, and probably will be for the next few months. It'd be a lot easier to recommend these two phones with an up-to-date OS out of the box. Even so, the 2017 Galaxy A phones are definitely worth considering if you're looking to spend between £300 and £400 on something new and shiny. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss our coverage of new Android phones as they land, and check out AndroidCentral.com for more on both the A3 and the A5. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.